Hello world, this is Shruti Pandey, and today I have with me a very amazing lady, Jayashree ma'am, who happens to be the founder and CEO of Appreiz. And thank you so much, ma'am, for giving me your time today. I hope we make the best of your time and I get to learn a couple of things from you.
Oh, thanks for having me on your show, Shruti. And it's a pleasure to be here and share what I know. And it's good to talk to young host you like you. I have been following you. So it's pleasure to be here.
You are just too kind and modest, ma'am. And before I get into the three questions that I've created for you, I wanted to understand two, three things from you because you have named your company and the application in a very phonetic way. Can you explain that? And my second question to you is how has this entrepreneur journey for you been?
Okay. So Appreiz, as you call it, it's an app to praise, right? So praise is is a phonetic way of how you say praise, praising someone, right?
Right.
So that is how the name was coined. So it's app to praise, appraise. And so now we are hoping as we keep talking, have you appraised anyone, right? So one day it will become like, have you Googled? So it will become like, have you appraised anyone?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, so that's the talking about my entrepreneur journey. No, I had a long, successful corporate journey before I started off on my entrepreneurship. So I was in leadership roles in GE and Microsoft. But at some point, it kind of struck me like if I don't start something on my own, now I will not be able to do. So that was the time around 2016, 15, 16. So said, and enough of corporate life. So let me get on to my startup journey. Actually, it all started, I think it was always there to start something on my own. I remember during my first interview, as soon as I finished my education and I went for the first interview, you're very novice and naive at that point, right?
Yeah.
So one of the questions was, where do you see yourself in 5 years from now?
Yeah.
And I said, I want to start my own. So, but somehow I got sucked into the corporate life and it never happened. So at some point, and in Microsoft, at one point, I had the opportunity to run the Pan India Hackathon. So, and that kind of kindled that spirit, right? We were one of the, my team was also one of the top finalists in the world. So, though I ran the hackathon, plus I was also participating in it. So it kind of said, okay, so now maybe it's the time to go do something on your own. So that's how I started it. And I've always loved interacting with people. And though I'm a techie, right? And I started off HR tech startup. So um, I loved interacting with people, and I wanted to do something which makes people happier and work together. So that's how I started this. So as an entrepreneur, it's not always up. It's you have to struggle to get right. So we are still trying to get there. As I said before, I'm still in my early part of my journey and a long way to go. But it's been, I mean, one of the things I love being an entrepreneur is you get to be very creative and choose what you want to do, and you're passionate about the topic or the product you're developing. And it kind of it has its own stress being an entrepreneur, but it's just that the passion to do something on your own drives everything else, right? So that is what I love being. But it's like you have to wear multiple hats at all the times. It's no longer just one job description you have to do everything, right from making chai for yourself to right to invoicing, to do everything. I mean, but it's a it's a holistic experience. Being an entrepreneur, you get to see everything. Though in my previous corporate life, I was part of a startup which went from I joined them when they were like, about 60 people, and we went all the way up to pre-IPO, and gone through a whole business life cycle with them, I should say. That kind of like taught me also to see how businesses run, because it was a pre-IPO, like, we all were like getting high fives whenever we get a new customer. And then suddenly it is the dot-com bust happened at that time. And then also our company was acquired by somebody else. So now you have to have a merge with another company, and then you have to go through the whole process. And then the accounting scandal happened with the CEO and the CFO. So now it is like, okay, our stock price, which was in like high, went down on one day, it went up to like 0.80 cents or whatever, and then all your dreams are gone. And then again, so then afterwards, it was again, there were layoffs and everything. So you go through the entire business life cycle with them. So that kind of, I always have it in my mind that being an entrepreneur, it's not easy. You're going to go through a full life cycle with it. And so that kind of really, made my journey. It's like it's always in the back of your mind, right? That it's a life cycle, it's a business life cycle, and you have to go through that and see how you can get far in that life cycle, right? So that's what my journey has been. It's not easy being an entrepreneur, though we all talk about the successes of the very successful entrepreneurs. And I know everybody strives very hard to get there, right? It's not always the bed of roses, I should say. It has its own thorns as well. But what makes it really interesting is that whatever it is, it's a passion for what you're building, and that's what drives you and makes you successful. Yeah.
I mean, as
Hope
much
I answered your question.
ma'am, this is like hitting the jackpot. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us, because as much as you have been following me on LinkedIn and other places, I have also tried to, understand your journey. But it's always better when you get it directly from the horse's mouth, as they say, right? And thank you for being so genuine with me and whoever will be watching this, because your journey is so relatable. I mean, you help me remember, my first interview, when the cliched question is asked to us, where will you see yourself in the 5 years? And again, in the journey that I am in currently, I don't know how big or small I am, but it's exactly the same thing. If I don't do something now, when will I ever attempt it? So I know how much of guts and courage it takes, that to being a techie coming from that corporate background. Like, hats off to you, ma'am. I know it is not easy, and leaving that comfort area of getting a secured paycheck month after month. And I'm pretty sure you don't have to take care of many things while we are wearing multiple hats in our jobs as well. But like you rightly said, from creating an invoice to any small to big task, because now it's your baby, now it's your job. So thank you. That was such a motivating and inspiring journey, and I hope it helps to inspire other people.
Thank you.
So I have three curated, specially created
Okay.
questions for you. And if we are okay, can we start with that part?
Yep, sure.
Okay. So my first question for you is, given the current climate and situation with respect to, the working model, as they call. So it could be work from office, it could be work from home, or hybrid. What do you think would stick in the long run out of the three?
I think in the long run, it's probably going to be the hybrid, right? Though, and it depends on the businesses you are, right? For some businesses, work from home will work absolutely fine, right? Especially if you're working alone and even if a small team, right? If they can gel well and work well, and they can make the work from, I mean, we all work from home for the last 2 years, so it works. Definitely, businesses have sustained and they have been productive. So work from home works. Overnight, we went to like working in the office to work from home, and so that works. But what happens is, as we have started going out, I think we all seek that social interaction, right? And that is where the hybrid model comes in place, right? So even though we work from home and successfully, because work from home actually, we don't have to travel, we don't have to commute, like, and you can just get logged and work. But what you miss is the water cooler conversations or being social. And workplace is also about getting that relationships, right? How you work together as a team, how are you working together? And you spend like at least minimum 8 hours, so it could be maximum, could be as many hours as we all put in. And work from home actually has taken the line between the work and the professional work and the personal life. So it has actually increased our work hours more. But what happens is, in the hybrid model, what we can do is, because that is where you make those relationships. You can say, like, as work from home, we all work for the last 2 years, but we went on Zoom meetings and Google Meets and Teams. But that informal conversations,
Right.
you can miss out on those, right? But and those informal conversations is what make you social, and you work together, you form those relationships.
Right.
Because when you get on a call, you want to finish the call and come out. It's not, there's not much of small talk happening at there.
Yeah.
So that is where the hybrid model will work. And even though some of the companies you see which said it will be work from home for a long time, have started moving toward a hybrid model, because they see that people need to be interactive, and a lot of brainstorming can happen only when they meet in person. And so work from home will be there, because that has opened a lot of doors for a lot of, especially for women. It
Yeah.
has created a lot more opportunities. And also work from home also has created, you can find your dream job and you can work from anywhere. You don't have to go to that location. So that has also helped many people, right? And so work from home will be there. And for some people, they may think that is what they want to do, but for them, there are lots of those opportunities. But companies are large, they will want to go to the hybrid model, but they will have to give the flexibility for the people. Say you can come in once, twice a week or thrice a week, so that they can, because people have got used to working from home. So they want to, getting them back to work is becoming a challenge for a lot of companies. But on the other hand, it is also, it has its own problems, right? Especially in India, I think a lot of people have moved to their villages and tier two and tier three cities where they come from. And when they were working from home, it was all fine. But then now, if you have this hybrid model, so now it's like, again, they'll have to come back to the city. And will they prefer doing that, or will they go to another opportunity where it allows them to work from home? So
Right.
it's going to be, um, so it also, companies need to think about that also, in terms of, especially when there is getting a right talent is becoming so hard right now, and people are leaving jobs. And so what are the things which you are going to be flexible, and what experiences are you going to give your workforce, right? So that is also is another thing which companies will have to think. But hybrid will stay. So I think gone are the days when we go to office all 7 days a week or 5 days a week. It's gone, but the hybrid model will stay. That's what I think.
I loved it how you beautifully, summarized every aspect of this three versions, because you covered how it helps women. You also covered how it helps, tier 2, tier 3 people who went back to their native towns. I simply love this answer, and it can become like, a rule book or a guidebook for people to understand the situation who still don't understand, right? Like how these three can go and hand in hand, or needs to be operated with respect to employees. It made
Correct.
perfect sense to me, ma'am. Thank you. So my second question is, given the situation with respect to all the working model, inflation, as you rightly mentioned, there is also a biggest problem of finding the right talent. How important is it to make workforce happier, and why?
So there is all kinds of statistics. You will see that happy workforce increases the productivity, right?
Right.
Because only when you're happy, you're going to be at your best at work. Irrespective of whether it's work or whatever you do, only when you're happy, you're going to do your best. If you're not happy, then you're not contributing. So it actually results in the loss for the business, right? If you're not being productive. So if an employee is unhappy or tired of the work environment has so many factors. If they are tired of either of their team dynamics or the culture or the leadership,
Right.
they're not going to be at their best, right? So it's very, very important for employees to be happy. And what makes them happy is what how the culture is in the organization. The employees at the end of the day need to be valued for what they do. So
Absolutely.
that is you need to motivate them and make sure they feel valuable. It's not about adding another perk, right? It may make you happy for some time, like, early day, I mean, 2 years back at least, when we talked about employee engagement or making the workforce happy, it was about whether you had TT tables or you had what all other perks you had, the cafeteria with multiple options for eating, and all that were also seen as employee engagement. But then came COVID, that all went away, right? People are not going to come into office to experience those. Then how do you make your workforce happy when they are working from home,
Correct.
right? They are at the home and they are undergoing a lot of stress due to different things. And how do you make them happy? And we all know that motivation, appreciation is the only thing which will give a lot of energy, right? When you come to work and somebody appreciates you, hey, you're looking good, even that is like you feel like a compliment, right? And then it makes you walk a little bit taller if somebody says. So if somebody says, hey, you're doing a good job on this one, then that motivates you to actually go excel. You will convert it into your strength. If they tell you, hey, good job on demonstrating something, then you will convert it into your strength and you keep doing it again and you will demonstrate value to the company. So it's not that you always have to give big rewards to make your workforce happy. It's like it's making them feel valued, appreciate timely appreciation for what they do, and that is when they will be happy. And what does happy workforce translate to? Happy workforce, then they work together as a team and they excel. So there is whole relationship. You will see them all upbeat. If one person appreciates another, and then it kind of becomes like a chain, right? When somebody appreciates you, then when you feel good, you also appreciate somebody, right? So it becomes like a chain.
Yeah.
And then that translates into everybody being productive in what they do. So the appreciation is very key. Of course, the two reasons people leave organizations now, especially when we are looking at the greater resignations, and the first one is always is the manager or the environment, right? The leadership. And number two is always the appreciation, lack of appreciation in what they do. Because leadership, I mean, there is only so much you can do because you can either if you like your manager and you work with the manager or you find some other place and you go, right?
Correct.
Because you cannot change the, the managers. That, I mean, their personalities at least. But appreciation is like, which can be done easily by anyone in the company for the good work people do. If you appreciate them, and then they are going to stick, right? Whatever other things, they feel good and they feel productive. So making the workforce happy actually results in productivity gains. And it is very important, especially now, because you're going to be working in a hybrid model. And some of them are going to be in the office, some are at home. So how do you engage them and make them feel happy in what they're doing is also about the value, the work they do, right? Another thing is also the work has to be meaningful to the person. And that's where the leadership comes in, sharing what their vision for the company is, how is it translating to each individual's work, and giving the individual the place to grow is important. So that also adds to the happiness. It's not just appreciation. It's like, how do you engage them completely in different aspects, give them the room to grow, understand who the employee is, what their expectations are, and look at it and make them thrive in that environment. Like, they are part of you, they are adding to your bottom line. So you need to put employee experience on top of the customer experience. Customer experience will come when your employees are happy, because you
Absolutely.
don't want a grumpy employee to face your
Hmm.
like Fortune 100 customer or anybody, right? Because at the end of the day, that's not going to translate into your bottom line. So you need happy employees to face customers and bring more businesses to you. So that's why it's very important.
It is, it is. And I think you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I also come from a techie corporate background. And when we were in office, because Indians in India never got the work from home opportunity, right? So the pandemic was something which gave us that opportunity for the first time. And even before, when we were going to offices, this problem that we discussed and you talked about in length still existed, about giving the proper value or giving a proper work so that a person feels, okay, I'm doing something which is valued in the company or in the organization. And I think I'm not sure, maybe one of the reason for the great resignation is exactly this problem which persisted and became just very big, because now, due to the pandemic and everything, in a hybrid way or whatever way, that gap of the problem has just widened, and the companies don't know how to solve such a basic thing like giving a value to an employee. And I highly appreciate the usage of words that you do, because you said timely appreciation. I mean, I remember as an employee, the moment you put your paper is when they realize your importance. That is not the right time, to value an employee, whereas you could have valued them earlier if you love them so much or value them so much.
Right. Right, it is. It is because I think a lot of companies, I mean, and you'll see when you're in active on LinkedIn, you'll see so many people writing about this as well, as like,
Yeah.
while you put your papers, then that company totally thinks, oh, you're very valuable, and they want to increase your pay or increase other perks they give you.
Yeah.
And what happened? You didn't see that value so long,
Yeah.
right? And there is a Gallup statistic which says, like, 76% of the workforce always thinks about their next job at work. Okay, so it's an alarming statistic. It is,
Oh,
and they would switch if they find a new job, right? Which is according. So that is how it is. So if you want to stop that, right, then the work has to be engaging. And I talked about timely appreciation, and that is now the new thing is also about meaningful appreciation, right? It's not about timely appreciation. If I just say, hey, good job, it's not enough, right? Because it doesn't mean much. But if I say, hey, good job on you being a great host and I love being part of it, then it's like I'm saying, okay, you are being a good host, and that is what I like, and that's what you demonstrate. Then it becomes a very meaningful recognition. And along with that, I put what's the context and output, especially in the office workplace, where if you say what's the context and what was the outcome, right? The outcome is actually going to tie it to your business bottom line, right? Whether you helped in the sales or whether you helped in the quality or whether you helped in that, then people are going to see that their work is valued in to the bottom line of the company. So they know that that is what they have been contributing, and it really helps them to feel, motivated. If somebody says I added to the sales of the company, yes, I'm going to feel proud of it, right? So that is, and they'll become more productive. So it's going to help the companies that way.
Makes sense. Absolutely, absolutely makes sense. Not just, yeah, the good job thing never works. Like, what exactly did I did as a good job? Makes sense. So, if I were to ask you a final question, which is, what are the different ways of ensuring employee well-being at a workplace? Do you have a list for that also, or are there certain parameters for that? Because
Yeah, see, employee, that's another area which I am passionate about, and I'm like in the process of building another startup called Nia, which is all about employee well-being. So you touched on the right question for me to talk about. I feel that, what are the different things you have to do for employee well? See, what's been happening in the workplaces is employee well-being was not at the top of the list, at least pre-COVID, right? Pre-COVID, some companies had something called as a EAP, employee assistance providers. That's what they used to give. And if you have any kind of a problem, you can call that number and talk. That is more only addressed on the mental wellness part of it, right? Especially, and we all know in India, it has a big stigma. Nobody is going to go talk to that EAP provider.
right.
And there were some companies which focused on, they used to do like a fitness camp or a health fitness, physical well-being part of it. At least there were some big corporations which had like a monthly, not monthly, at least twice a year, they used to have the physical tests and all that done.
Yeah.
Focus more on the physical well-being of the person.
Sure.
And so they were all like fragmented stuff. You're not looking at it in the holistic well-being of the person. Especially when you look at what's happening is at least 1/3 of, 1 in 3 Indian is suffering from corporate burnout,
Oh, yes.
in either like anxiety or depression now. So that is a very alarming thing. And the workplace, when you're talking about the workplace well-being, it's not, of course, the physical well-being matters. Physical, like you need to be physically well. Then there is also about financial well-being, because I think COVID came and a lot of people, financial well-being became a big issue for everyone, right? Because you had to have sudden treatments or hospitalizations, your family was feeling not good. All that created uncertainty whether you're going to have a job. So the financial well-being was causing all the stress for a lot of people. Then you talk about emotional well-being. When I talked about 1 in 3 is suffering from corporate burnout, yes, that is like emotional well-being is a big part of, like mental well-being is a big part of what you look at it, and how can you offer that place where they feel psychologically safe. Like
Right.
workplaces are talking about psychologically safety places right now, right? It's okay to talk about those. So, and then you also have to look about career well-being or the social well-being, and then the community well-being. There are like 7 pillars of well-being. And so now you have to find a solution for an employee. When you're talking about employee well-being, it has to be holistic. You cannot have different solutions for different things, right? So people, as and when, because it all happened suddenly and we all are looking, okay, what can we provide our employees, and then we get different solutions. But you'll have to look at it as a holistic well-being solution. And different things the companies can do for providing those solutions is, now we have of course, like us, there are a lot of other players who are playing the solutions, giving either they focus on physical well-being solution or mental well-being solution, and or mindfulness, right? Mindfulness is also a big part of it, right? So how can you provide that? Because if you have to get someone out of their stress and anxiety, then how do you look at it? But to understand what your employees are going through, that is the biggest thing, right? You need to have some kind of a well-being assessments done. But not everybody would want to go through that. So it is up to the companies to decide whether they want every individual to go, or if they want to, they can go ahead, right? Not everybody would want to. And then the workplace stress could be because of many things. It could be either the team dynamics, or it could be my relationship with my peers, or it could be relationship with my manager, or it could be overwork, tough deadlines, or like I'm worried about my career growth, or it could be anything. Or it could also be what I'm bringing from my personal to my workplace, right? I may be going through tough times in my personal life, then I may bring that to work. So an employee well-being, mental well-being is based on so many things. So you need to find out, provide an environment where they don't feel threatened, because one is people are not willing to openly talk about it, is because how does it affect my work if I'm going to go open about it, right? So you have to create that psychologically safe places where you provide support for the employees to overcome whatever they need to overcome, and provide and therefore take care of their well-being. And now, if you see, I think I've been reading quite a bit. I mean, since I'm ex Microsoft, I guess I follow Microsoft closely. And so, how they have started talking about employee engagement has become employee thriving, right? Thriving at the
Yes,
workplace.
that too.
So, that is what it is all about, right? So, we need to take care of how we provide those well being solutions. It could be mindfulness. For some, it is mindfulness will help. For some, talking to a coach or a counselor would help. For some, it's all about how to work on their lifestyle diseases they have, right? So it has to be a holistic well-being solution, because and employers must care for it, because the employees at the thing they are working for you, right? For the bottom line of the company. It's just because they are going through certain things doesn't mean you don't have a part in it, and then you just give them insurance or whatever and then let them go take care of it. That doesn't work. You need to provide that support to the employee to make sure that they can share things, talk about it. There is a support system which is there, and so because then they will become productive, right? Once they know how they are taking care of their well-being. And in what happens in this is also, there is always, it's not everything is clinical, right? It's even talking about a lifestyle disease or whatever, it's not everything is clinical. Not everybody needs a treatment. It's all about managing when you are being preclinical and proactively taking care of it, and so that you don't go there. And by doing so, you're becoming very productive in the workplace. So if I push you off to the clinical side, then you're not going to be productive, right? So it is all about how do we find and make the employee figure out what is needed for them in their own well-being, and see how an employer, like the system, can support it, all that. So that is where we need to look at how the well-being. So when you ask me a list of things of what you can do, there are many things, but it has to be holistic, right? You can say, okay, I give you Calm or a Headspace app or whatever, and then you go to, but that's not going to help everyone in the organization. If I'm going through a team dynamics, okay, it can reduce the stress a little bit, but how am I going to solve that issue? So then a coach comes in play, and then a lifestyle coach can tell you how to help you navigate that thing. So
Absolutely.
then you're being productive. You don't have to lose that employee because of that team dynamics, which is happening in the organization. He may be a great talent, but if it's not working well with the team, you are going to lose that person, right? As I said, 76% are looking to find what's the next opportunity. So you don't want to lose that employee. So what are the different things you can do? It's all about, and this whole thing about diversity, inclusiveness, right? So how can your workplace be a inclusive environment? Because if you're not inclusive, then that adds to the stress to the employees as well, right? And how can you prevent workplace bulliness? Many times
Yes,
employers don't even know that the workplace bulliness happens, but it happens in many ways. And
absolutely.
what is the thing you give them to talk? Okay, there was an ombudsperson. I've been worked in corporate, so we know there is an ombudsperson you can go talk to, but how many of them will go to that ombudsperson and talk? They'll go only at an extreme case. But if there is something which is happening one or two times, and I don't want to go to ombudsperson, but it is causing internal stress for me, right? How do I figure that out? How do I sort it out? So those are the things where you can now, especially with technology, and you can scale the solutions which you're giving to the employee. So that is where I think the employers will have to invest and make it, give a holistic well-being solution to the employee and let them take care of the smaller things which can lead to bigger problems, and then they leave the company and go. Instead of that, provide them that support system, and then they are going to be more productive.
You have narrated that entire cycle so beautifully, and I can't thank you enough, ma'am. Seriously, everything from employee well-being, engagement, experience, the attrition, all of that looks like, a benzene model, which is just like a snake biting its own tail. I can't thank you enough for this amazing session with me, and I hope to get you once more on the platform, on the podcast, and talk with you about some more things.
Yeah, sure. I would love to. It was pleasure talking to you, Shruti, and you're doing wonders with your talk show or podcast, right? And I think, and you're keeping it very engaging, and that's what I liked about it. And it's really good. It was really a pleasure to be part of it. I would love to come back again and talk more.
Thank you so